Hello, everybody. I am so excited because I really have been passionate about sharing. We're going to turn off the mail. I've been passionate about sharing how really your coaching can significantly
Hello,
impact
everybody. I am
what
so
is going
excited
on
because I really
and
have been passionate.
how those pieces all go together. And all of the things, sorry if you guys could hear YouTube in the background. I went live through Zoom to YouTube. Welcome to trying to figure out all the tech. So really what this is about is how coaching can really affect how the athlete is performing. And by coaching, I mean, not just are you picking up technique, are you actually helping them push themselves, but also how are you mentally speaking to them? What's your words of communication and how is that impacting you? I definitely recommend the book Ask More, Tell Less, written by the most amazing mindset coach that we constantly work with, Tyler Pasick. It really has helped me continue to move this forward. But one of the biggest things that I want to share with you today is really this concept of how the brain actually works when something is happening. And you guys may have seen this. So I'm going to just like press present so that you guys can actually see this in like good time. But you guys have probably heard about this whenever they set up a car accident and then they have everyone come and tell them, okay, well, what did you see and whose fault was it and what was going on? And they actually have it on camera. They know exactly factually what happened, but everybody's story is different. Or there's a crime and everyone's story is different and it actually doesn't match up to the truth. And the reason that this is because anytime there's an external event or someone says something, what happens is it comes into our brain and you delete, distort, and generalize. So I can't really, it's like 290 billion bits per second is how much information we're taking in. And I can't remember like the exact number, but it's somewhere around like 100 to 200 bits of information per second is what we actually perceive to be happening. So we're literally deleting, distorting, and generalizing billions of bits of information in order to get to a result. And that result is this either creating an internal representation in our brain, and then that creates a state that we're in physically, mentally, and then it creates changes our physiology. So what's actually happening in our bodies. And this is why it becomes so important to really be aware of what is the environments that we're creating for athletes? What is the individual representation when we do that? And then what is actually the outcome for our athletes and putting them in different environments and giving them different feedback and different experiences and seeing how they actually behave differently. Because each of them are going in and deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. And I know a lot of times what happens is that we just actually had this huge conversation on our coaching call today because I've been reading this book called Getting to Neutral, which was Russell Wilson's mindset coach wrote this book before he passed away. And he's sharing about getting to neutral. And I like the foundation of parts of what he's sharing that really coming from a neutral environment allows you to respond rather than to react, allows you to make good choices that are in alignment with your values, all of those pieces. One of the things, though, that I think is really important is how are you getting to that neutral state? And I think it's really important that we start looking at this like, what actually is happening? Are you sitting with the feelings that you have? Extreme positive, extreme negative. Are you sitting with those and really being inquisitive about what's happening? And as a coach, this is our job, right? When we're working with athletes, it's helping them be inquisitive about what's actually happening here. And this delete, distort, and generalize. Like, you know that they're already changing up. So if you give them a critique and they react in a specific way. So let's say one way would be they react and they're like, okay, did I do it right, coach? but then they can never do that lift again without checking in with you. They're always like, Is that right? Is that right? Is that right?" And they need constant feedback now. Or maybe they get mad or frustrated and they actually walk away and they don't want to do the lift anymore. Um, or maybe they hit it and they do it perfectly. Okay, what happened here in this external event? The same thing happened for you as the coach, right? You said the same information, but what was happening with that individual? That then they went and they deleted, they distorted, and they generalized whatever you were saying. And for the athlete that went through, they were able to execute and do it exactly as you said. What allowed that information to get through? What was their relationship with that? What language did you use with them? What did that bring up in their memories? Do they have past coaching experiences that were very positive that gave feedback in a similar way? What belief systems do they have about themselves and their ability to be coached and their ability to step forward and their ability to accept criticism and know that that means nothing about their self-worth, same as their performance means nothing about their self-worth. And really good ways to go through and do this is number one, let's recognize. So this is what this is really, this quick little video is about, is recognizing and knowing that whether you want it to or not, your words, environment, any external event that you're creating, this is automatically happening every single second. Even right now as we're interacting, every single second your brains are deleting, distorting, and generalizing billions of bits of information so that you can streamline and take away what you want. So somebody watching this video is going to get one piece of information. Somebody else is going to get another piece of information. Some people are nodding their head. Yes, 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 yes. I agree with this. Other people are like, what the heck is she talking about? This isn't in agreement with me. And it has nothing to do necessarily with the information that I'm sharing. It's about how we delete, distort, and generalize. So no matter what, when we work with athletes and we're coaching them, we know that this external event is always happening and they're always deleting, distorting, and generalizing. And that is always going to cause a mental and a physical outcome. And it's always going to cause this response, this behavior. Always. It's happening day in and day out. So, where do things need to happen in the coaching sphere that we can really dive in and get more curious about why they're responding a specific way? And that can be in a way that's in alignment. It's how you want them to respond. So, let's say that an athlete responds exactly the way that you want them to a cue or to a discussion, any of those things. They respond exactly how you want. That's a really great time to get curious with the athlete of, hey, I loved your response. I loved your behavior after we had this conversation or after I gave you this cue. Can you walk me through what specifically were you thinking as I shared this information? Or what specifically did I do in that conversation or in that cue that allowed you to receive it and respond in that way? Or what was your biggest takeaway from our conversation? Also, making sure that when we talk, we already know you've already done motivational interviews with people and you already know where their goals, where their boundaries, where their past beliefs and even mistakes or issues with other coaches or other gym environments or other performance things that have come up throughout their life. If you do a good motivational interview, you already have some of that background information that you can dive deeper onto, but I like chunking it down. So, what that means is taking a big, broad thing. You responded exactly how I wanted you to. Now we want to chunk it down and figure out specifically why did that happen, which means that we need to be very intentional with our conversation, very aware of what we're saying, how we're saying it, and what environment we've created that in, and then asking and being curious with the athlete. What we will notice is that when we have something that really works well for the athlete, we can continue to repeat that or make slight pushes in the envelope so that people can better understand what they want. let's take, for example, now let's take the athlete. So external event, you give them a cue. It says, the reason you're not hitting the lifts the way I want you to is because you're pulling too early. So external event, this has happened. You tell them they're actually in a camp. So they're with a bunch of other elite athletes and you share this with them. Okay, so what then happened? This athlete, rather than responding and saying, okay, hey, can you show me what that means to pull early? Oh, okay, I've got it. I need to keep my elbows straight for a little bit longer. I'm going to do a couple reps. Will you come back and check in on me and make sure that I'm doing it right again? That would be a great response, right? This athlete instead gets frustrated and says, well, I've been taking lifting coaching for years and no one's ever said that to me before. And so I don't understand what you're talking about. And then they literally go back and they just keep doing the same reps. Or they nod their heads, and then they do the exact same thing over and over and over again. So they're deleting, distorting, and generalizing the information with maybe not even realizing or intentionally ignoring you. I think that's the first thing, is always bring the solution back to yourself rather than assuming that the athlete's doing something on purpose, that they don't value you or they're ignoring you. Even if they tell you, oh, well, I've done lifting coaching with a bunch of other people and no one's ever told me that. That still doesn't mean that they don't value you. It just means that right now, for whatever reason, that information is not getting through and they're building up a wall for some purpose. So rather than getting frustrated or leaving them, it's a good time to get inquisitive with them. So what we do then is we can dive in and ask them questions about specifically, like, hey, what specifically about me giving you that cue? What did that make you think about your performance? Or what specifically did that make you think about me as a coach compared to your other coaches? What specifically did that make you feel about how you were performing? And so trying again, chunk it down, chunk it down, chunk it down. What went through your mind was the very first thing that went through your mind. Is there a different way that I could have phrased that cue in order to better help you where this response would have been different? So maybe that person says, actually, yeah, sorry I reacted that way. I didn't realize it, but it made me feel kind of embarrassed because you hadn't cued anyone else anything negative. You'd been only positive with them. So then whenever you got to me, I felt like that was a negative cue. Oh, okay. That wasn't a negative cue. In the future, I can give you positive feedback paired with something else, and allowing them to be able to open up their mind and see that, allowing them to be able to see, even whenever you were cueing everyone else and saying, wow, I really love how you really held great in this first pull position, that could still be feedback that they can take with the same thing and be like, okay, this is really good. I'm going to watch this person do reps. Or I did this really well. I'm going to go back and watch my video analysis because I want to make sure that I hit that every single time. So the outcome from the cue should be exactly the same. The athlete, if it's a good cue, they get really in depth. They know exactly what they did. They're really feeling into that. And they're going to try to replicate that as often as possible. If they get a cue that they need to change something, they should feed into it, continue to analyze it, and then try to adjust until things start feeling better and getting that physiology. This is kind of just a quick overview. The biggest thing that I wanted you to recognize is, number one, motivational interview is super important. Number two, as a coach, always take back radical responsibility and solution based, rather than assuming that your athlete's reacting in a negative way or in a way that you don't want to because they don't respect you. 99% of the time, it's because they're deleting, distorting, and generalizing. And even if they don't respect you, that's not right by any means, but you can have a conversation with them and just know that it's about them. It's not about you. They're even deleting, distorting, and generalizing information about you and your coaching style and the way that you're connecting with them. So be aware of these things, get inquisitive, and spend more time talking to your athletes when their reactions are exactly what you want, and then when their reactions are less than what you want. You can really start to see some consistencies in the way that you could present language, in the way that you could present language attached to their goals, and also just the environments in which you share information and feedback in order to get the most positive response. Every athlete is unique. Every athlete is going to take in an external event in a different way. And so when we start developing that skill, our programs don't necessarily, our training programs don't necessarily need to be significantly widely different for each athlete because they're going through and they're on the same season, they're on the same similar goals. The sport requires similar demands, but what is different, what does make a unique experience that each of you guys should be doing is the way that you connect with athletes, the way that you're giving them feedback, the way that you're asking them to train, the environments you're putting them in. So you're controlling not just these external events, but you're also controlling how that information is coming in and how their physiology is adapting. And you're helping them become more and more aware of that. So as they grow as an athlete, they can continue to be aware if an external event causes a behavior that they don't want, they know how to get inquisitive too. I hope all this helped. If any of you guys are interested in diving into this way deeper, we actually have just added in Mobility Mastery, which is our coaching certification course for mobility coaches to increase the performance of their athletes, as well as increase the coach's income and link the relationships with their clients. We've added in there coaching mastery, and it really dives deep into all of these concepts and how you actually start increasing your coaching energy and increasing your connection and commitment to your athletes, as well as your athletes' commitment to you by these simple terms of creating rapport and understanding how different physiologies, behaviors, and internal states are created. If you guys are interested, literally just comment below or send me a message on Instagram at Mobility Athletes for and type in mastery, and I would love to connect with you. We can do a video chat, we can talk about your goals as a coach, and I would love to connect with you more. So I hope to see you guys in there. I'll talk to you